Hi, everyone. Welcome to Elevate.Strategy Leadership Live series Fire Chat again on a Friday. Sorry, today's Tuesday, actually. We had to move the interview up to Tuesday because my guest today is very difficult to get on the show. So firstly, just a housekeeping item. Don't know why my computer is a little laggy today. So I apologize. Stick with us. It'll still be a very great conversation. So stick with us till the end because we've got a lot of really interesting questions for Sheila, my guest today. So first of all, just welcome once again to Elevate.Strategy. Hope you guys had a great week and a great weekend. I'm broadcasting from Toronto, Canada, as you know, and as we speak today, the government here has sort of opened up things a lot now for us. So going forward, we're going to have a lot more latitude around going out and meeting people with masks and social distancing. So I'm in a great mood today. So hopefully you are as well, wherever it is that you're from. If you're watching a rebroadcast, please feel free again to reach out to Sheila, my guest today, afterwards. She'll be more than happy to connect with you, answer questions, etc. So let me tell you a little bit about my guest. I met Sheila probably about almost 9 months ago. And ever since then, we've kept in touch, and I've seen her career progress amazingly. But let me just give you a very quick blurb about her background, so you'll understand why she is an amazing executive in my eyes. Okay, so Sheila is a global marketing leader, and she's held senior leadership roles in marketing at highly recognized worldwide entities. For instance, Procter Gamble, L'Oreal, Danone. Cirque du Soleil, if you guys have ever been to one of their shows, amazing productions. Well, she is one of the executives there, and we'll talk about it in a second. And prior to joining her current role in Coveo as SVP of Corporate Marketing and Brand, Sheila served as International Executive Vice President and CMO at Cirque du Soleil. And if you know Cirque du Soleil, they're based in Montreal, and they're one of the largest, most well-known entertainment organizations in the world. Sheila has had 20 plus years experience in all areas of marketing, management and creation of brands, innovation and product creation, digital customer experience. That's been very heavy emphasis, obviously, in the past 10 years, social media, sponsorship and partnerships, television content, and P&L management. So without further ado, I'm just going to pull her to front stage and we'll have a chat with her. All right, let's see if we can get her live here. 1 second.
There you go. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good, and you?
Good. I apologize for the lag. I'm not sure why my computer is acting up this morning, but it's really great to see you. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was difficult to get you on my calendar, but I'm really glad that I did. I interact a lot with marketing folks in career coaching, executive coaching that I do. And increasingly so, I've been seeing a lot of folks who are from that lineage, who are very senior, asking a lot of questions now about, the new world, the new era of marketing and how it all works. And so when I look at your career progression, I see that transition from a traditional type of marketing roles to right now, which is very forefront, digital-driven, consumer insight-focused marketing. So I'm very, very glad that we can have you on the show today. For those of you who don't know you, and I'm pretty sure people have checked out your LinkedIn profile since I sent out the marketing pamphlets out on LinkedIn, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you do today.
Yeah, well, I just joined a company called Coveo. I joined on January 12th, so it's been 6 months now. And it's really a job that I jumped in outside of my comfort zone because it's a total new industry for me. Coveo is an expert in applied AI, so artificial intelligence applied to business creation. There, I'm in charge of corporate marketing and brand. So when they brought me in, the goal is really to create a strong brand behind Coveo, because Coveo is doing amazing things, as I said, in AI for e-commerce, for service, for workplace, for website, but not so many people No, Coveo. So my main goal here is to build the brand, increase awareness, and making sure as many people, as many companies as possible, because we are in the B2B world here, as many companies as possible know that first we exist, they know what we do, how we do it, and why we're better than others. That's a
Right.
big part of my job. And I'm also handling PR, content strategy, corporate communication, all the creative side as well. We have an internal studio, so many department, but that's the big idea behind my role at Coveo.
Gotcha. And when I think about your career progression from different industries, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about how marketing is different that you see from industry to industry. What are some of the biggest differences that you see?
Yeah, well, most of my career was in consumer packaged good. So Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal, and Danone. So really product, high velocity product, a lot of budget, big brands, a lot of launches, really so high paced marketing where every 6 months, every 3 months, you launch 15 new products. So that was really my life at L'Oreal was 13 years of my career. So that's where I learned everything. So I would say you have a lot of people working for you, big teams, so a lot of management skills you have to develop there. But it's also very sophisticated marketing. That's where I learned everything I know today. That's where I made the shift from traditional marketing to digital marketing. But in those big companies, you have a lot of data, a lot of information. You know your consumer by heart. You know what they do for a living. You know what they buy. You know why they buy it. Like you get tons of information, and it's just sometimes almost too much information to manage. But you can have a very big understanding of all your markets, and you can adapt your marketing in a very sophisticated way to those consumers.
Right.
Then I moved to Cirque du Soleil. Complete different industry.
Right.
A love brand. Cirque du Soleil is one of the most loved brand I've seen, and I had the chance to be working for that brand and building it. It's surprisingly, if I was wearing a jacket with the logo of Cirque du Soleil, people would stop me in the street like I was a superstar. And they would tell me their story about when they first encounter a show, or that they wish they could go see a show. So that was just amazing working there. And at Cirque it's different. You don't have that many data. You don't have that many velocity. You don't. It's a mass brand, but only a certain amount of people can have access to it because it's kind of a luxury brand if you think about it. But there it was just about emotion, touching people with emotion through the shows, but also through the advertising. It's really a brand that you feel in your gut. You get goosebumps when you think about it. You get goosebumps when you go see a show. You remember it forever. So it's all about, I learned there what creating moments means in the show, but also in everything we're doing marketing-wise before, how we can create goosebumps, emotion, moments, and really create this connection with consumers. And extending that. So we have that love brand, and how can we extend it outside of the show? And that's where I touch like television content and stuff like that. Can we extend this brand and go further? Is it extendable first? Is it going to work, Cirque du Soleil, outside of the show, outside of the stage? Can we do that? So completely different experience than L'Oreal, because it's a complete different product. It's not something you consume very often. You may gonna go see a show once in your life, twice, maybe 3 times if you're very lucky. So it's not like a shampoo bottle that you buy on a weekly basis. So very different. And then Coveo, B2B. So no more consumers talking to business. So that's the biggest challenge for me, or learning for me right now. And I'm very happy to be able to continue to learn new stuff. It's the B2B. Building the brands, building the foundation of the brand is something I know, but building it for business, for a business buyer in another company is something different that I'm learning right now. So I would say that's, in a nutshell, the biggest difference among the different industries.
Yeah, I'm interested in what your perception is of how people view brands. Because what I see a lot of in my coaching is the idea that, brands become stale pretty quickly, and there needs to be a constant reinvention of what the brand stands for. I remember when I met you, we were talking about kind of the Blue Man Group and kind of different things under the Cirque du Soleil umbrella.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that? And sort of, in the B2B space, does that happen as well? And by the way, for the listeners who are here, if you've got any questions for Sheila at all, please feel free to type it in. This is an interactive live, obviously, broadcast. If you're watching a rebroadcast after, that's fine too. Just reach out to her with any questions, right? So Sheila, what do you think?
Well, it's a huge question. I could go in many ways to answer this question, but I would say that first, for me, brand is more than a brand. Brand is everything you represent as a company. It's your value. It's the way you present yourself. It's the way you talk about your product. It's your tone. It's your employees. And many companies see the brand as the logo they've put on the website and the word, but the brand is so much more. Every time someone interact with your company, they interact with your brand. So the agent at the customer service center is a representation of your brand. So brand is larger than that, because you will remember, if you go to Disney, you will remember
Right.
the bracelet they put, the wristband they put on your wrist, and
Right.
this is branding. And then you'll remember the drink you had, or the ice cream you had with sparkles on it. So it's not just the logo and the advertising that is your brand, it's all the touch points. So brands are larger and larger than we thought maybe 20 years ago. Brands are touching everything you're doing about your brand. So that's why first, brands needs to evolve. They cannot stand still. You need to evolve your brand that's why I don't believe anymore in a slogan that stays forever, or a tagline that you would keep forever. Your brand needs to move, evolve, at the same
Right.
time as it grows and it changes, and you move into different industry and you grow there, and you need to make it as a living, breathing entity. So that's something very important. And it's the same thing in B2B. You ask, is it different? Is it not? It's the same thing. Yeah, at Coveo, the brand is not just the logo. It's the way our sales team pitch the brand to customers.
Right.
It's the way we interact with our partners. It's the way we do our events is a branding thing. It's the way we do our demos. Demos are big in B2B.
Right.
That's part of it. So that's something that I'm dealing with. And like, how do we, if we push the brand higher, everybody has to be on board, because I cannot do it myself. It's not just the marketing. Everyone needs to be on board, and we push the brand together. So I always feel that branding people needs to be very good internally to put everyone together, so that we all build this brand together. It's not just me. I cannot do it myself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the idea that, marketing and brand is more than just a logo is something that is subconsciously, I think, in the minds of consumers, right? A really strong brand really grips you at the heart of it, to say, when I think about, we talked about this, I think, before, about, Volvo kind of being the symbol or emblem of safety. Cirque du Soleil is definitely one of, tremendously high quality entertainment, and probably a little bit pricey, as you were saying as well. How do you access the right audience with the brand, right? So the audience that you have for Coveo, you're trying to get out to other businesses, right? And for Cirque du Soleil, you're trying to get down to the consumer as well. What are some of the strategies behind the differences between them? You talked about demo as an example, right? And maybe an equivalent for Cirque du Soleil would be clips and shows on YouTube or whatever that is. But how different is it in reaching the different audiences of these different markets?
But it's kind of the same. The tactics to get them are different, but the way of approaching it is the same. So normally what I like to say is that I need to find more people like the one I already have, more fans. At Cirque, we were calling them fans. So how can I understand the fans I have today and just reach for more of them, the lookalike? Or how can I just, there's more of them, everywhere in the world. I know who they are. I know what they do for a living. I know what type of families they have. I know that normally they start to bring their kids when their kids are 6 years old and more. And so we know all that. So how can I just get more of them instead of trying to just reach a complete new audience that is a lot of work, a lot of money? I always try to do more of what we already do. And then at the same time, you try to extend somewhere else. But extending is difficult. For example, at Cirque, one of our big challenge was how do we reach millennials, like the younger groups who first don't have necessarily the right amount of money. And they're not that interested into circus art. Like circus art is like, they don't really care. They want music. And so how can we show them that, you know what, Cirque has amazing music and like part of the best musician in the world. And yes, it's cool. And it's much more than circus art. It's human pushing their limits. It's like, how can you turn it around so that suddenly the story fits with them and fits with what they like, instead of just showing jugglers and people telling. It's much more than that. When you go see a Cirque du Soleil show, you see, first of all, you get, people are just in awe. And we actually, just talking about that, changing gears a little bit, but we did a big study at Cirque, understanding emotions. Just to be able to talk about emotion, we wanted to understand emotion, what type of emotion you get when you go see a Cirque du Soleil show. And we realized that, you can get surprise, you can get wonder, but you can get at the highest level of emotion, which is awe, AWE. And that awe is like something that stays in you for 6 months. It's a long-term emotion. If you feel it, and you go back home, you will still have this in you for a long time. And this gives you first a more positive view on your life. It gives you the desire to just push your own limits. You saw a human being on the stage pushing their limits, and now you want to do it in your own life. So people go out of the show with this. They don't. It's like you said. It's not really conscious, but it's there in them. And they want to do it again. They want to go back again, see another show. So that's what we wanted to talk about as well. We wanted to talk about not only the circus art, but how can we talk about the music, the costume, the human being pushing the limits, the emotion you will get when you come see a show. And when I turn this to Coveo, it's the same type of thing. So we know what type of business we're very successful with. And we know with which one we can have the most impact on, and that when we work with them, they will see a 50% increase in revenue or 80% increase in case deflection. So we try to just do some lookalike again and say, we know we're good with them. How can we reach more of them and talk to more of them, and having the proof of, here's what we can do with those type of business you're in, and join more. And at the same time, in parallel, while we do that, in parallel, we try to extend in different industries and different use case. But it's the same idea as how can we touch them with something that they care about? Why would they care about us? What's their insight, their pure insight? And how can we make sure that we answer that insight in the precisely manner so they're like, okay, yes, that's what I need. They don't have time to waste. And it's even more, it's true for B2C, but in B2B, don't waste my time. Be clear, be fast, tell me what you can offer to me, and you better deliver. So you need to be on point. So it's even more important that your message is very precise and on point.
Gotcha. Yeah. Once again, for those who are watching right now or rebroadcast, please feel free to put in comments, questions. It's not often that you get access to such a senior leader in marketing. I know a lot of you folks who contacted me before this show were saying, I've got I'm going to watch this, I'm going to absorb this in almost as a master class, right? So please feel free to certainly interact with, engage with Sheila. I was going to ask you, so tell me a little bit about your career journey. How did you get to this point where you are right now? How did it all start?
What a journey, for sure. Well, I started at Procter Gamble, and I didn't really choose Procter Gamble. I feel that it just happened. I was at business school in Montreal called HEC, and they were recruiting. And I heard that they were offering a free car, like they were giving you a car if you were. So I was like, I want a free car. I want to go. So I didn't even really know what I was getting into, but I was really excited by the free car.
Yeah.
So I got there, and they put me in sales. at first. Actually, everybody was starting in sales at the time. So I was supposed to be a sales representative on the road. But 2 weeks before I joined, they decided to fire all the reps. And so that was not existing. They were going with just merchandiser, no more sales rep. So I went directly to the office as an account manager. And I didn't even know what an account manager was doing. Honestly, I was like, okay, we'll do that. But I didn't want to do sales that much. I did it for 2 years, but that was not my passion. I wanted to do marketing. So I told them I want to do marketing. And I remember that my boss said, you're never going to do marketing. You're a salesperson. Like, you're very good in sales. You should stay in sales. Like, forget about marketing. So I was a bit disappointed, but I'm like, okay, we'll stay there. But then L'Oreal came, knock at the door. They're like, we will offer you a job in marketing. I'm like, perfect. I'm going. So I left Procter, which is honestly an amazing school. Procter was just perfect. I learned so much there. And still today, I remember stuff that I did at Procter. And I was young, but they trusted me. So I will never regret that. Yet I left. I went to L'Oreal to launch the brand Fructis at the time. It was the revolution in shampoo. Like, all shampoo were white at the time. And then suddenly there was this green bottle disrupting the market completely. So I was very excited to do that. And so at L'Oreal, I stayed there 13 years doing all job possible in marketing. I think I did it all. I did assistant product manager, I did trade marketing, I did category management, I did group manager on hair color, hair care, skincare. Then I moved to Paris to do brand development, product creation. Really, the team in Paris is really the one creating all the new products, all the new brands that are then launched everywhere in the world. So I did that for hair color in Paris 3 years. And then I decided to come back to Montreal, where I was brand director for Garnier. I had my first baby. Then I decided that I wanted to do something else than shampoo and hair color. So I asked to go in another division of L'Oreal, and they sent me to the professional division, so the hair salon division, which was completely different because you're not selling to consumer, you're selling to salon. So it was, again, so I started B2B there a little bit. I did that. And then I thought that I've done everything at L'Oreal. I wanted to try a new challenge. So I went to Danone, the yogurt company, where I was a director of marketing, the full all brands, Activia, Dan Active, Oikos. And then I had my second baby. And during my maternity leave, because I'm that type of person, I thought of how can we reinvent the business model or the way of working at Danone. So I created a model where we would change the structure and at creating a team, which I call it a sales strategy team. So a team in between marketing and sales, where we would regroup price and revenue growth management, category management, and sales strategy. So I proposed it they said, yeah, we'll do it. And you know what? You'll be in charge of it. So I came back after maternity leave, creating that team actually and I did that for a year and a half. And that team still exists, actually, so I guess it worked. And then Cirque called, and I was like, I'm not going to Cirque du Soleil. It's a great brand, but I have young kids. I cannot travel too much. Like, no, I'm not going. They called back again. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll consider meeting with you guys. I went to the office of Cirque, and I saw all the artists training, and like on trampoline, and I felt the vibe of Cirque du Soleil. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm going. I'm going to take the job. So I took the job, and I loved it loved it completely. I was in charge of the brand, and my role just extended. And then I was reporting at the CMO at the time. And then she left, and they gave me the CMO position. And then COVID happened, and we had to close 44 shows in 24 hours. We had to fire 4,000 people. We went we went in bankruptcy. We sold Cirque. That was a nightmare. And that's where we met together. Like I think I called because I was in what do I do after Cirque? What do you do after this? And you helped me a lot thinking about what would be my next steps. and that's when I decided to go in the B2B, to really be in my uncomfortable zone, because I like to be in that's where I learn the most, and that's where I challenge myself. And I decided to join Coveo.
So I have a couple of questions along that journey. So one of which is, how are things different for marketing in Canada versus Paris? Like, what did you, I know you changed product accounts, product categories.
Yeah.
In general, what are the French like, I guess, and what challenges did you face in making decisions that were different than how you used to run business in Canada?
But first, I think there's the cultural difference that I'll talk after, because those are more fun facts. But I think in terms of the job, they work hard. The French people, they work hard, play hard, really. So they, during the week, I was surprised at how much hours they put in the business, but then the weekend they do nothing. They never even take an email during the weekend. Like, it's really Friday night, it's done. They don't work during the weekend. They're with their family, but during the week they work a lot. So that was something for me to just, I was like enjoying life a little bit at night. Like, I would stop working at 6 and then having a night, and then the weekend I would work a little bit. They finish working at night, but they don't work the weekend. So that was a complete different shift. And also the real thing I learned is how you build a brand with all the sophistication that L'Oreal has, is that you cannot just bring an idea without having all the background behind it. So when you present an idea, because it's really where like I said, it's really where new products and new brands are created. So if I add an idea of a brand, you cannot just go in the meeting and present it. You need to be like super, it needs to be attached. Your idea needs to be tested, proven. You need to make sure that there's an insight that consumer will love it. So it's really making sure that you're robust in everything you're doing, that it's solid work. So I really learned how to push my thinking further, how to like even challenge myself, even though I truly believe that that's the right thing to do. And there's something at L'Oreal that they always say, is that my boss was telling me, I never say yes the first time you're presenting me something, because I want to make sure, because if you truly believe in it, you'll come back with it after. If you don't, if I say no so you present me something, I say, no, it's not going to work. And if you leave and you never come back, it's because you didn't really believe in it. But wow. if I say no and you truly believe in it, you're probably going to go back, do your homework, and come back with the same idea, but with a stronger explanation behind. So it was frustrating, honestly, when it happens. But it's true that sometimes you just need to fight for your ideas if you truly believe in it. And it's really cliche, but don't accept a no as an answer and fight for it. So I learned that. I learned competition as well, because sometimes there's one idea and another brand will pick it up if you have a good idea. At L'Oreal, there's multiple brand in hair color. So if you have one good idea, someone can just steal it from you and launch it in another brand. So I learned how to protect my stuff a little bit, of course, but that's good competition. I kind of liked it. And I learned that, you know what, they don't understand my French in Quebec and French in France is so different. I was speaking in English there because that's the best way, so that they would not make fun of me in presentation. So I was almost speaking in English all the time.
Oh, that's funny. That's so funny. The idea of kind of so one of the things that keeps coming up, and again, I'm seeing listeners here that are watching. One of the questions that comes up is that marketing does seem to be a very scary kind of dog-eat-dog kind of world, you know, when you watch shows like Mad Men and all that kind of stuff. Is that kind of what you see? Was that kind of the world that you grew up in?
It was tough. It was not easy, but for the good reason. Like, honestly, L'Oreal cannot launch crappy product on the market or product that will fail. It's L'Oreal. It's it's the biggest beauty brand in the world. So their quality, they have high standard, and they won't settle for less. So they will not accept something that is just okay. It has to be great all the time. So they challenge you to be great all the time. And if you come to a meeting and you're not prepared, they will send you back to your desk and do your homework. And that's all right, because it's L'Oreal. You know, you didn't sign up for a small brand, local brand, that if they launch something that doesn't work, it's fine. If L'Oreal launched something that doesn't work, and they got listing in all the 6,000 doors across Canada, and it's a failure, that's going to cost tons of money. So they cannot do that. It needs to be like everything they launch needs to be successful. It's not all successful, but they need at least to make sure that they did everything possible to make it successsuccessful. So yes, it's tough. It's not an easy job, but what job is easy anyway now? It's not an easy job. It's like you need to know your stuff. They will ask you question, and if you don't have the answer, they will ask you to do your homework, and they will challenge you in meetings. But that was the best school ever, because today, every time I go in a meeting, I'm prepared, because I know what good preparation is. I know my stuff. And I know my business because they teach me at L'Oreal how to do it and how to be prepared.
Right. Gotcha. So just skipping forward a little bit to what would you say is the most, 2 or 3 the most important characteristics or personal kind of disciplines or qualities of someone who should go into marketing and succeed today, right? So when you're growing up in the ranks, there are probably certain skills and capabilities that you needed to develop. Maybe you didn't know you need them at the very beginning, but what would you say are 2 or 3 things like, hey, listen, you know, you've got to be good at communications or whatever? What would they be?
Well, of course, you need to be good at communication. You need to be able to sell your idea internally. And that's something that I learned at every step of my career, is that when you're at the younger stage of your career, you need to sell your idea to your boss. And then when you go up in the hierarchy, you need to sell your ideas to your colleague. So it's approved in an executive committee. So there's a lot of political aspect to it. You need to get them on board. You need to convince them. Sometimes in the pre-meeting, there's a lot of pre-meeting to a meeting. That I learned a lot, is that never go in an executive meeting without having the pre-meeting with the right people before. All your stuff needs to be kind of pre-approved before. The meeting is just to make sure that we all okay, that we all approved it before, right? So that's something that I learned throughout my career, and I made mistake a lot regarding that. Also came in the meeting where nobody would know what I was talking about, and then the project was just rejected because I didn't do my homework before. So that's something that I learned. One thing that you need to have if you jump into a marketing career is you need to be curious about human being. So it's almost psychology, but you need to be interested in why people buy, why people care, why people would be interested in your product. And that works for B2C and B2B, but you need to listen to consumer, but really listen to them, to consumer or business, and not just push what you think is right, but listen to them. Listen, watch blogs, read about what they say about products. They are the one that's going to decide if your product, if your brand, if your services is a success or not. So I think we don't listen enough. Most of the time, we're so proud of our idea and we drink our own Kool-Aid that we wanna do it. But then we often, like when I launched stuff that didn't work in the past, I did add the sign before. I kind of knew before, but I didn't want to listen. I thought I could convince them. I thought, oh yeah, I will convince consumer that it's gonna work. But if I would have listened more, I would not have done it that way sometimes. So I think that's something important for me. It's listening. Be curious about the people. Wanted to read about them, their needs. Just talk to the people around you when you have a good idea, and you'll get, and not people from marketing. Talk to your accounting sister or and they'll tell you if it's a good idea or not. So I think that's something very important. You need to be interested also in different departments. It's not just about marketing, because you need to be often very good in finance. You need to be very good in sales, so you do the right sales enablement, because they are the one that's going to sell your product. So if you don't know anything or you're not interested into sales, people won't, like sales team won't care about your initiatives. So, but you need to get them on board. So you need to talk their language. You need to talk the finance language. You need to forecast. So it's not just about marketing. To be successful in marketing, you need to be really interested in so many other departments.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Well, and that's a very tall order, right? There's a lot of these skills you develop along the way, and one of the recurring themes in this series of interviews has always been around finding mentors and people who can give you some insight, right? People who are kind of on your side, advocates, who can, kind of take over a little bit of sort of air cover when you're floundering, trying to figure out how to do things, right? Certainly.
Yeah.
So we talked about Paris, and then there was the question about, I was very curious when you said starting a family.
Yeah.
And, one of the questions obviously has come up a lot recently is, what was that like? How did that stall your career? Tell me about that.
It could have, because I think it's very overwhelming to become a mom. I'll talk very personally. I felt it was very overwhelming, where I didn't want to leave them. I wanted to be with them, but at the same time, I was bored at home. Like in Canada, maternity leave is 1 year, and it was so long. I wanted to go back. I was almost jealous of my husband going to work and have to dress every morning and having lunch with friends and having a life. I was like, I'm stuck here. But at the same time, I had this dichotomy of wanted to be with my kids, but wanted to go back to the office. So it's very overwhelming. You're full of emotions. Sometimes your kid is not feeling very well, but you have to leave him at the daycare because you need to go work. And so there's a lot of emotions involved that maybe only moms, I don't know, will feel. I don't know if it's the same for men. I think it's different for men. I think we handle emotion differently, but I had that. So it could be an obstacle for your career, of course. But I have the secret sauce for me is the team that I make with my husband. Sometimes he takes more, sometimes I take more, sometimes I have to travel, and we talk a lot and we organize ourselves. And he's he's my number one fan, I have to say. He's always the one cheering my career, talking about my career to everyone, telling everyone that I'm the best person on earth. I'm like, you don't know, you never worked with me, you have no idea. I'm not that great, but he's really cheering me up. He's the one that convinced me to go at Cirque when I was debating. I was at Danone. I was like, do I go? It's going to be a lot of travel. He was like, Sheila, at the time I was, I don't know, 40. You're 40 years old. This is your dream job. Go, we'll make it happen. We'll find solution. Work together in this, and I want you to go. And he really convinced me. So I could never do this by myself. It needs to be, you need to be, from my point of view, have a good team player or be surrounded by a lot of help to make it happen. But one of my things is that I'm with my kids every morning, and I'm with my kids every dinner, homework until they go to bed. I don't work. I'm with them, other than if I travel, of course. But last year was pretty good for that. No travel, but I'm always with them at dinner. We chat, we have fun. I read the story, give the bath, the showers, and I'm with them. And then I go to work, but they don't really know that I go back to work because they sleep. So I normally do another hour at night. So that's how it works, and it works well for me. And I know I need both in my life now. Now I know I need my family, I need my kids, and I need my career. It's part of me. So I don't pretend to want to have like the perfect life balance. My balance is to be in both of them. And sometimes I struggle, but most of the time it works.
Right. Well, being in such a tough industry like marketing, I know having worked with you, that you are, I think, a little bit of an exception to a lot of the folks that I coach, who have a difficult time being able to delineate the two parts of their lives, right? And I've heard someone say that it's not so much life work balance as it is sort of life work integration, right? Being able to integrate.
You're right. Totally.
Right. And in marketing, I mean, you've worked for all of the big brands. I mean, everything that you've worked for have been, you said L'Oreal was big. Well, P&G was big. Danone was big.
Big.
Cirque du Soleil is incredible.
Tremendous,
And so that's really good. But I think it's #support system, right? That's really what it
is.
And, you need to have
and don't try to be like the best everywhere. Like sometimes you're not going to be the best mom, and sometimes you'll miss a meeting because you're with the kids, so you're not going to be perfect at work. But nobody is, and I don't try to be the perfect mom that gives like organized the perfect birthday with 3 cakes made at home. I go buy the cakes, and you know what? I'm fine with it because
Yeah.
they don't care, my kids, if it's from the store, if it's from me, and it gives me. So I make the shortcuts, and I'm good with it, and I don't blame myself for it. Sometimes it's tough. Like sometimes if they're sick or if they're stuck at home because of COVID and they're just beside me while I work. Do I want to yell at them? Yes. And do I do sometimes? Yes. Like I'm not perfect, but we do our best, and it
Yeah.
works. It
Yeah.
works.
Well, and it'd be amazing to meet your kids. I mean, they must be, you know, they must have gotten into a
They're a
rhythm
handful.
knowing, okay, when, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, for them, I don't think they realize what we do for a living. They don't really care like what we do. They don't care. They just want to play with me, and they want to meet. They just want to dance crazy in the living room and have fun and laugh. That they want ice cream at night, and the rest they don't really care.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what kind of brings a lot of the work that we have. If we have passion for our work, brings it to life, right? Because
Yes.
we can have that. I don't know how many times I've left work feeling quite grumpy and not really happy about the work itself, and sort of it translating it over to my family life, right?
Yeah.
Which they don't deserve that part of
No.
myself,
No.
right? So,
And that's a very good point. That's something that I try not to do anymore, is not use my phone between like 5:30 and 8. I really reduced. Before I was with them from 5:30 to 8, but I would answer email, and then my brain like would go at work, and I was not 100. And they feel it. They're like, "Mom, like don't use your phone." So now I don't use it. I'm like, this can wait. I will go back to my phone at 8:30 when they sleep, but. And I really appreciate, and the break is good for me. That break from 5:30 to 8:30 is good. I'm with them, change of mindset, and then I go back, and I go back with fresh hair, fresh mindset.
right. If you could go back and talk to a younger Sheila,
Mm.
and and say, marketing is not really entirely about that. It's something very different, right? So tell me about something that you didn't expect when you were you're now the senior in marketing, but when you were that young, you're like, marketing is this, in MBA school, there are certain areas that people love to do more than others. They gravitate
Yeah.
towards the marketing aspect of things is a huge one. We've got case competitions and everything about marketing, but never about finance, right? Or about accounting.
Yeah.
So going back to when you're younger, what was the most unexpected thing in marketing as a career?
I would say two things, but the first one is not just about marketing; it's about career in general and working in general. Was build your network. I learned too late in my career how I should, the same way as building your family. You said before, hashtag support system or something like that. It's the same thing at work. You need your support system. People who's gonna be on your side, who's gonna help you find the shortcuts, who's gonna support you when you have a special project that you need approval on. And I thought, I always had this idea, and it's really in me, that I can do it by myself. I don't
Right,
need anyone. I can do
right,
it by myself. And
right,
you can do it by yourself, but it's going to be harder. When if you have this support system that you build, it's so much easier. So I learned that honestly late. Like I would say at Cirque, that's where I realized it the most. When I joined Cirque du Soleil, it was through a headhunter, and that headhunter offer a transition coach. So someone who help you transition from a job to another.
right,
And that woman, I remember, she was like, spend most of your time meeting people, asking people, and create but real relationship, not just the fake one, the real relationship. And
right,
and I
right,
did that. And not only I did that at the beginning, but I continue to do it with people across the company, not just in marketing, in every department. And then I booked them for lunch later, and I booked them for a coffee. And I really, those people became my friend. And then together we did so many amazing things, and they helped me not making mistake. They helped me make the better decision. They helped me move forward projects that were more difficult, that I would have done by myself, but it would have been very difficult. So I learned that. And so my first tips to myself if I was talking to the young Sheila was say, don't try to do it yourself. Spend more time talking to people, building your network than just being alone in your office trying to fix it yourself.
Right.
So that would be the first thing. And then the second thing would be marketing is not just about marketing. Like I said before, I think it's about sales, it's about finance, it's logistics, because if your product is the best idea on earth, but it's not going to ship, it's not going to fit in the truck, or it's going to be a weird size, so it's not going to fit in the shelf in the store, it's not going to work. So marketing is touching so many different departments that be like, spend time with them, spend time with those departments, listen more. Often marketers are great communicator, they're bad listener. So listen more.
Okay.
Like just
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what I would say.
And you've mentioned that a few times already now, right? To listen to the customer.
To the consumers, to everyone. Listen to the people in finance, listen to the people in logistics that is telling you that your boxes is too big, and then they cannot fit 2 pallets on top of each other, and it's frustrating.
Right.
Listen to them. They may have a point there.
Right. Yeah, I think we often forget how interchanged the parts of the businesses are, right? And certainly seen that. Okay. One of the questions that I love asking my guests is around areas of weakness and struggle, right? Because it's easy for us to talk about our accomplishments, but can you share with us maybe one area of struggle or things that you had to overcome, right? Or maybe you're still kind of working on that right now as you progress in your career?
There's 2 things. I would say the first is, and it's really cliche, but it's so true. I wanted to say yes to everything. I never wanted to say no. I'm an achiever. I'm a doer. I want to do everything that top management was asking me to do. So I would say yes to everything, and then I would work too much. So I would learn now, and I learn now is I say yes, but yes, I can do it, but here are my conditions. I can do it next week. I can do it, but give me 1 extra person in my team so I can deliver it in time on budget, or I can do it, but give me the budget. So I think that's one thing that I learned a lot, and it's still part of me to say yes. Like, I want to please people. I want to do things right. And so it's still part of me to wanted to say yes to everything. And then the second thing would be the imposter syndrome. I have that, and I will always have it. I still have it today. That I remember again when I was named CMO at Cirque, all the executive had more experience than me. I was the youngest on the team. And I was named because my boss left. So was I nominated just because she left, or because they need someone quick? Or so I always have this, which blocked me sometime to participate or give my opinion in something. And then I realized when I force myself, or when I more and more, I was going into meeting at Cirque, and before crossing the door, I would ask myself, what posture do I want to have? What attitude do I want to have? Do I want to participate or be an observer? Because if I want to participate, then jump in early in the discussion. Don't wait, because if you wait too long, then you feel that there's nothing to add, and then you often see silence. So jump in early so you participate in it. So I was forcing myself, almost giving me challenge to make sure that I was not feeling like an imposter, and I would take my place and my space. And it's the same thing when I joined Coveo. I always I don't know anything about artificial intelligence. I don't know anything about tech. So I could have felt the same way, but more and more, I try not to. I'm here for a reason. I may not be an expert in AI, but I'm an expert in brand and marketing, and there's something I can bring. So I try to remind myself, but it's in me. I always have this little voice that tells me, are you sure you deserve this? Are you sure you're at the right place? Could they find someone better? I don't know if it's just me, but I feel there's more people feeling that way, but I challenge myself not to fall into this, because then I'm not on my best. I'm not using my full potential when I feel like that.
Right. You know, part of me thinks, Sheila, that might be the Canadian side of you, but
maybe.
I could be wrong. but I mean, you're super talented. I remember when I started working with you, your CV was amazing, and I just thought, what are you talking about? So, but kudos to you for working on that. I think imposter syndrome is, for me, even as a career coach, coming out and coaching people, I used to think, well, what do people have to learn from me? But I think actually what people have to learn from most people are their mistakes, of like, okay, you know what, it's okay, you'll get through this. But I have a question here from Mandeep. Mandeep, hi. Mandeep was a marketing professor at the McMaster University. So he asked,
nice to meet you, Mandeep.
He asked, what has had the most impact on your perspective as a marketer? That's a very interesting question.
Yes, it's very interesting. Oh, there's a lot of things that had impact on my perspective. And it depends of every single, I think there's some people that had a lot of impact. There's some trends that had a lot of impact. There's some innovation that had a lot of, there's some but I think that what I remember the most as having an impact are the people that I encounter. There's some boss that I remember, some in a bad way that I don't want to be. So I know that I don't want to be like that. So they had an impact on my career because I remember that I don't want to be a manager like that. Some that were just amazing. And I still today, I think of them sometimes when I have to take a decision. What would that person do? What would they tell me? How would they approach a situation? So that's more about impact on my career. But impact as a marketer, I think I was part of the digital shift. Like I come from buying 30-second TV commercial on primetime TV to not buying TV anymore because it doesn't work. So this had a lot of shift in the way I was thinking about marketing. We were pushing message. We were buying mass marketing, mass media. And then suddenly you want to be as personalized as you can and be sophisticated enough to talk almost like one-on-one. That was a huge shift for marketers. Like for the people my age that went to half of their career as mass marketing to now moving to personalized, sophisticated, fine-tuned, like person-to-person marketing was a huge shift. Like we had to reinvent and redefine the way we were doing marketing. And I'm not sure there will be another big shift like that. And I don't know if there's going to be another big shift like that, but that was a huge one. And we all learned, and when we didn't all learn at the same time, and we're still learning. So depending of where you were in your career, the digital was either passed in front of you and you didn't see it, or you were right into it, or you were late boomer looking at the digital marketing. But I think that was something huge. And of course, my transfer to Paris had a huge impact on me as a marketer. Being at the center of the decision-making process of a big company like L'Oreal was something that you live like once in a lifetime. For me, it's something like you work with the best. You feel that you're at the top of the world working on the best brand. Like meeting, I did advertising with like Sarah Jessica Parker. I was there when we were shooting advertising with her, and like you're just doing stuff that you will, in my case as a Canadian, that I'll never do again, or maybe, but I don't know. So it had a great impact on everything is possible and strive for the best.
Right. Yeah, that's a very interesting point. I never thought about is being at the center of a brand headquarter is very different than being at maybe the
regional
manager, right, at a different country, right?
Yeah, even in Canada, even more. Like if in US, you may be closer, but as a marketer in Canada for L'Oreal, you're far from the decision, like the real decision making of the future of L'Oreal is far away. So suddenly you get there, you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I get a decision are made.
Right. That's an awesome insight, Sheila. Thank you. And there's a follow-up question here. And I love this question from Mandeep because in my own personal life, Mandeep has been such a mentor to me and
nice.
have a conversation offline about that. But his question is, as you've already read, talking about people, is there a CMO that you deeply admire from after afar and would want to be or spend a day with? Yeah, that's wow.
So I have, it's a very good question. I have a lot of people I would like to spend time with. Because of my role at Coveo, I would say that, and that's someone that I will actually reach out to. I was waiting a little bit, but the CMO of Salesforce, because it's one of the greatest B2B brand from my perspective. Like it's a B2B that is almost like a B2C. Like it's so well refined as a brand. They do partnership. They have a great CSR, social responsibility plan. Everything they do is just well on point. They are a partner of us. They are a customer of us at Coveo. So I can have access to that CMO, and I will, because I want to get closer to her. And so SAP, I know her as well. SAP, Salesforce, because of my role at Coveo, I think that could be very interesting. I love Bozoma St. John as well from Netflix. I think I love her because she's out there. She doesn't care about, like, she's working on her own brand. Like she doesn't want to settle for something else. Like she's just her, you like me like this, or forget it, move away. And she's done amazing things in her life. She's worked on amazing brands as well. I like her personality, so I would like to spend a day, a dinner, and a night with her because I think she's fun. So I would say Bozoma, and the guy at Nike. I think Nike did amazing things. And when I worked at L'Oreal, actually at Cirque, I thought that Nike was able to do the perfect match between emotion and like performance. And that's what we were trying to do as well at Cirque, is that, like, the human performance, but also creating the emotion. And they have been able to do both of this in the latest year with their advertising on sports, which give you goosebumps. Like you watch it and you just sometimes it makes you cry almost. And they're selling sports gear, but you're touched so much. So I thought that he's doing an amazing job. And he's doing a good job as well on everything that is Black Lives Matter and Pride and all the inclusion stuff. So I would like to talk with him as well a little bit more. So that would be,
and after these kinds of interviews, I think there's a lot of younger folks.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying anything about your age, because you're not of age yet, but that would love to spend time with you. And I think that
would be a pleasure.
One of the traits that I really love about you, Sheila, is your modesty, and I often think that modesty covers up for a lot of deficiencies. If you have a humility level and people know right up front that you don't know entirely everything, they're willing to help, right? And I think there's a degree of respect that's there if you are vulnerable for that. So I really admire that modesty. And I think you'll find in a lot of these CMOs that you would admire from afar that there is that degree of self-reflection, right, that comes out in their art of marketing. So I agree. Love that.
And often I think when you're young in your career, you want to hide those weakest spots, and then when you grow, you realize that it's part of you, that you're never gonna, honestly, you're probably gonna stay like that. If I'm like that at 43, I'll say my age, I will continue to be like that in the future. So I prefer to be upfront and accept those are my weaknesses, but I have a lot of strength on the other side, but this is me.
Right. Gotcha. So we're coming up to the top of the hour, but I wanted to ask you this. So we spoke a little bit previously about some of the strengths and competencies that you need to have. For someone who's going into marketing right now or are younger in their career, what piece of advice would you give to them? And so let me just recap. You talked about networking, you talked about communication skills, you talked about a whole bunch of things, but if you were to summarize, is marketing an area that people should get into?
Oh, yeah.
That's a leading question. And number two is, what kind of advice would you give to them?
First, yes, go in marketing. It's so much fun. It's very dynamic, and there's a lot of possible options if you're going in marketing. There's so many different type of career you can have. And I would also suggest that if you go in marketing, don't choose one area too specifically at first. Try different things. Like I said, I've done price and revenue growth management. I've done trade marketing. I've done sales strategy, category management. And it really opened my eyes on, I knew I wanted to do branding. and I did it a little bit, but not only. I did a lot of other things that makes me so stronger today as a brand / corporate marketing person. So I would say don't be too niche at first. Open up, go try things that maybe are not that inspiring, but it's gonna make you a better leader
Right.
after, if you know all of this. I would definitely say that. And I would say also, like, be inspired by many different things. Go in museum, go watch movies, listen to
Mm.
music, listen to culture, because that's where your consumer, if you work in B2C, are in. That's what they watch, that's what they look at. So you need to know, like I said, you need to know them. You need to know what is. And so if you're talking to young kids or teenager in your product, or you want to talk to older people, you need to know not just what they consume. If you're selling shampoo, not just the shampoo they use today, but what do they watch, what do they do, what do they eat,
Right.
so you need to be interested in people, in
Right.
human being.
Right.
Because it's not just about the product, it's so much more. When they
Right.
buy a product, it goes much further than this. If you buy a skincare at $160, it's not because it's a skincare. There's much more to it than that. So you need to
Right.
understand human being to crack them and really understand what makes them decide in this or this or this. And
Right.
same thing in B2B.
Yeah. And Sheila, I love the passion that is behind what drives you in marketing as a career. I think if you focus on genuinely what people love to do, it becomes a little bit easier to influence them, as far as
For
what
sure.
you said earlier about the awe factor, right? The AWE you said. And if marketers do their jobs well, I think everything can have that degree of awe, right?
Totally.
And you think this brand is much deeper than just the product itself, but it really makes you feel and emote certain things. So that's great. Sheila, I'm going to have you back at some point in the future. There's so much more we could talk about, but I'm going to end off with a couple of rapid fire questions. So you don't know these in advance.
No.
So, so the first one is, what is your alter ego profession? If you weren't in marketing today, what would you do?
I wanted to be an actress. That's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Before I switched to business. So I already did a little bit of TV and commercials. So I wanted to do that. So I would maybe go back to this for fun.
Okay.
I have no talent, by the way, but I would try again.
Can we find you on YouTube? Okay.
Maybe. I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay. What's the name or title of a book or a movie that would best describe your career?
Oh, I read a book when I become vice president, and the book, I think it's something like "What brings you here won't get you there." So, and I love that because I had to make a switch in my career of being like this doer that makes it happen, and that do a lot, to that person that help others accomplish what they are, helps other being the doer, helps other doing right things, and be more of a thinker, and being out and not being just recognized because I do things. I had to shift gears. So I think that's a book that I really liked, and that really helped me in my career.
Gotcha. That's a bit cheating because that's a business book. But
yeah.
But
Okay. Sorry. You wanted another book.
No, that's absolutely fine. But because you're an actor, I'm pretty sure that you're into the movie scene, so that's okay. Yeah. Last question is: during COVID, did you develop any hobbies or habits?
Not really. I'm boring, but I almost bought a dog. Is that an answer? Almost bought a dog. We really thought about it. Other than that, no, not really. I cooked more. I took the time to cook more, and I don't know if it's good, but I drank more wine. So maybe it's wine passion.
That's great. Well, Sheila, thanks so much again for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
It was great to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you. It's been a while. Congratulations again on the role. Haven't seen you since then, but I never had a chance to speak to you about that. And I'll be tapping on your shoulder once again, I'm sure, in the future. For those of you who are watching the after broadcast, please feel free to reach out to Sheila. She is an awesome, awesome lady, as you've heard already before. Feel free to reach out and ask the questions, right? So, thanks so much, Sheila. don't go anywhere. I'm just going to put you on backstage, and we'll catch up after the show.
Perfect. Bye, everyone.
So another awesome interview. I really feel energized by her passion for marketing. It's incredibly infectious, right? And especially when you see someone who loves what they do really talk about that. And she kept going back to the topic of the customer, listening to the consumer and the end user. And that's such an important message today for any part of the business, right? That's something that we always emphasize as coaches is, even for myself, listening to what it is that someone is, what their goals are, and trying to put yourself in their shoes. So in any case, reach out to her. But thanks so much, guys, for joining in this week. I'm going to probably have a live broadcast on Friday, this coming Friday, just summarizing the past, I think, 4 or 5 interviews that I've done. And that's going to be this week. And then next week, we've got another special guest as well, right? So stay tuned and have a good week. Take care.